Hello, everyone. My name is Pranav Bhagat, and I am a senior developer advocate here at ServiceNow. And today, I welcome you to a very special episode where I'll be taking up the Build with RPA challenge that we just recently launched. So, people who are wondering what exactly Build with RPA challenge is, it's all about empowering our ServiceNow community to create, learn, and share innovative ideas about RPA. So, I'll put a link in the description which contains all the things that are about build with RPA so you can go through it. And today I'll be doing the build with RPA challenge. So I thought of inviting the creator of this challenge. And let me introduce you to Daniel. Hey Daniel, how are you?
Hey Pranav, good day. I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. So Daniel, why not you talk about what this challenge is about and you can start with your introduction and then you can talk about what's this challenge about.
Sure, absolutely. So, I am Daniel with ServiceNow as a product success manager in the creator workflow space. So, creator workflow, as you all know, is what we all love to do, creating stuff on ServiceNow. And last year we launched our RPA technology called RPA Hub, right? And with that, coming out this year at Knowledge, I created one of the labs out there to show new features around RPA. That's a challenge we're going to go through today using UI Recorder as one of the things we will see going today, which helps you to record like a macro recorder activities you do on screen and can replay them later on as a robot, fully automated. I'm excited about that. How about you?
I am excited like anything. And Daniel, we are doing this challenge and you are the creator of it, right? So what's the scenario in the challenge so that our audience is aware like what's it's about?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. As you know, we have our yearly conferences, Knowledge, right? And going into the preparation this year for Knowledge, I thought about how can we show and teach to our participants there the new features about RPA. And that's how I came up
Mm.
with this challenge. That's the challenge envisions a scenario where we have a corporate portal where we can register visitors to coming to our campus, to our premise, maybe to the university, whatever it is you working for, right? And these visitors need to register. They need to get a visitor badge when they come into the front door. We want to greet them properly, and they might need some like a parking space, or you want to order food for them, something like that. That is the intention of the challenge. We register a user in ServiceNow in the service portal that you all hopefully use and love on a daily basis, ordering stuff. So
Hmm.
that's a central place. And from there, we will automate registering that user with the batch application that's used by the front desk and another application which we just let's envision this is the parking reservation, right? We don't have a parking reservation application, but we use a public website to do that.
Perfect. I think that's great, Daniel. So let's get into the instance and I'll show you like what are the different components. And Daniel is there to help me out. So I'm doing this challenge for the first time. So yeah, I have an expert with me. Let's
I'm
go
watching you.
back. So Daniel, this is the challenge that's there. So now, people who are watching us, go ahead and click on the link in the description, and it will take you to our Build with RPA community page. You will find the link to this challenge there in the community article that's there. So first thing is we'll be having. You can see we have a lab guide here that's attached. You have a ebook format as well as a PDF format, and you have an instance that's there, and also you have a kind of an rdb machine because right, you have a windows VM also, because right, RP runs on a windows machine only. So we have a windows VM that's there with the login credential and all. So let's go into the firstly, let's click on this lab link and see what exactly its lab is about. So I'll just zoom it a bit. So this is the same scenario that Daniel just explained. And you can see like first thing it's asking us to log in into the instance to see if all the plugins are activated. For our use case, it's more of like we need an RP Hub plugin and App Engine plugin. So let's quickly go into the instance and see if we have these plugins there. So if you have done it before, you have to go to the plugins and now let's let it load for a minute. And once it gets loaded, we're going to check. I'll just close this duplicate one. So we're going to check if we have the App Engine Studio enabled and also RP Hub. That's there. So you can go let it load up and then we can check that.
Yeah, these steps are in the lab basically, Pranav, because on the instances we provide, it should all be there. But if you run it on your own instance, like a PDI, which you can do, right? It's all available in PDIs. You need to go and make sure that these plugins are there and active. It's a reference point if you want to do that in your company instance as well.
Exactly, yeah. Because these are our lab instance, so we have already set up everything. We have set up the RPA Studio as well as we have set up the App Engine Studio also. Both the things are there. So just I'd like to show you how you can just see these things. It takes a bit extra time to load up. So yeah, let's wait for it. All right, so it's loaded up and we can see that we have the RP Hub that's already installed. And we'll just go to the App Engine Studio. I think that's the plugin name. So you can see that App Engine Studio. That's this one. We can copy here, or the easiest way is to like just copy the plugin ID and paste it here directly. So yeah, App Engine Studio is installed. So that's good. Now let's go into the App Engine Studio and open the visitor management application. That's as part in the lab guide. So let's do the I'm gonna do App Engine Studio and I'm gonna open the visitor management application. So Daniel, like quick question to you, like what's this visitor management application? It's is it like something that you created custom for this lab?
Absolutely. That's a custom application we created to kind of showcase the end-to-end process. You can use RPA for any baseline applications and incidents changes wherever it makes sense for you. But
Mhm.
for the purpose of this lab, we tailored a small bespoke application to show the process, yes.
Awesome. So yeah, that's there. So now we have opened the visitor management application. The next step you are asking us to do is like go to the experience tab and click on the preview button. I really like the detailing, Daniel. Like you have mentioned everything that where they have to go and all. So that's really nice. And click on preview, and then we have once we click on preview, then we have previewed it. And like let's go to the list, open list, and click on all that's there. And let's see what's coming up. So you can see all these thing is there. Now we can we can open any data
Yeah,
based on
it's
it.
just a set of sample data that come with the application.
Perfect. And let it open up. And now you can see that we have something like send data to robot. So Daniel, like what's this send data to robot is doing?
Right. So for this scenario, we made explicitly a UI action, a button to activate
Hmm.
the robot because we wanted to show that, and you can look behind the button. You can use that as a reference and an example if you want to go forward and use such similar technologies
Hmm.
or capabilities in your implementation. It basically triggers a flow that will send data to a robot work queue. And we'll come to the work queue in a moment, but it's basically triggering a flow, taking the current record, preparing it so the robot can work with that. You could
Gotcha.
use that flow as a trigger thing on a status change, on a request fulfillment, wherever, but that's the intention behind that button.
Gotcha. So yeah, I think that's there. So now like the next step is like send data to robot. So once we click on it, so yeah, it's sent. There is no confirmation message that's coming up. That's totally fine.
Mhm.
So we didn't added this confirmation message, but if you go to the RP Hub, as mentioned in the next step, let's see what happens there. So now we have to click on the list that's there. We have to go to build and queues. So that's there. Click on queue, and you can see there is a Vistra queue that's there.
Again, that's a prepared entry that we made as part of the instances. You won't find that natively on a vanilla instance. But
Hmm.
we'll explain that during the training. Yeah,
Perfect. So you can see that now I think there is a work queue item that's also created, right?
correct.
That's the one that.
That's the one that the button created. Correct.
Oh, that's nice. And is there any way, Daniel, we can just view what's in that? Oh, maybe
Yeah,
it's.
just open that record and scroll down a bit, and then you will see the content that the button actually put in there.
Ah, that's there. So you can see the whole content that's there,
Mhm.
so company name, all these things that's coming up. Perfect. So
That,
now,
that's the input for our robot, basically. And we choose to use a JSON string here. That's very easy to process on the robot side, which we'll see later. You could use any format you want to, right? It's basically just a string field.
oh, awesome. So I think that's great. So now next step is like we have to go back to the list and go to the bot processes. So like let's click on this and go to the bot process, and we have to go ahead and we have to assign a configuration,
Mhm.
right? Let's see, we're gonna click on assign, but firstly, what's this assign configuration, Daniel?
So with the Utah release, we have separated some entries in RPA,
Okay.
some, let's say, configuration data from CMDB data, right? In previous releases, all these records, bot processes, they were pure CI records. CIs do not travel with deployment, so it is kind of a bit cumbersome to create them in every instance. Dev, test, prod, you have to go everywhere and create all of that from scratch. Now with Utah, we have made a more deliberate choice saying, hey, some of the entries we do here are actually configurations, implementation information. There's things like how is it named, how often should it be running, on which machine should it be running. All this information we now package up as metadata, as configuration files, and that's why we call them a bot configuration. Once that is available on the instance, we need to assign still the CI record so we can make the robot visible in our CMDB. That's one of the strengths of ServiceNow, that we can visualize where do we have robots, which application do they interact with, and things like that.
Perfect. Gotcha. That's why I asked you to join me for this challenge because I got to know a lot more things. So I think then we can go ahead and now assign this particular like I think assign this configuration to this pod process. Let's
Mhm.
submit it.
You will see it's kind of preloading your bot process with a lot of value, like it's an unattended robot, it's triggered by
Mhm,
API and things like that. So this information is coming from the configuration. The record you
mhm.
see is still the CI that you might know from the previous release.
Oh, that's great. So yeah, it populated the unattended process on all these things. That's there.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, let's move into the next step. I think the next step is to connecting to a virtual machine. So if you have seen this thing, we have got a virtual machine also. That's there.
Mhm.
So for my use case, as I'm on Windows, right? So I'll just skip the Mac version, but that's great. Like you have, if you are using a Mac, you can follow the steps. All the steps are there, right? Let's
Mhm.
go to the Windows part. So if you want to do for the Windows, it's all about like going here and typing remote desktop, and once you click on it, you just copy paste the same URL that's there, you paste it here, and once you paste it and click on connect, it will ask you for credentials. So this is the credential that's there which I'm highlighting. It's for my instance, so don't go ahead and use the same one. So let me just copy paste this cred and enter here. So I've entered it. Let's see, it's trying to connect now. All right, so it connected, and boom, so you can see this lab, this instance, the VM is there, and I already opened this VM like some time back just to test if it's working fine or not. So that's why you can see the instance that's open up, and also the lab guide, everything is all set for us. So let me just scroll it back to where we were. So quickly let's go there, and I think we have already connected our VM, and now let's see what's the second next step that's there. So it's all the steps are there. So you can see that, like, let me go into the desktop view, and just to show you that we have the RP Desktop Design Studio as well as the unattended robot already installed in this VM. So you don't have to install it again. So it's already there for you. We have just confirmed this thing. And the next step is like we have to set the default browser, right? So let's do a default browser, because like for these virtual machine, the default browser is set to Internet Explorer. And so Internet Explorer doesn't support JavaScript now, so that's why we have to set it to we can just set the default browser. But I love the detailing, Daniel, like you have set all the detailed thing, like even to set the browser default web browser. So I've already set it to Google Chrome, so that's
Yeah,
there.
and for the virtual machines you get from us, this step is actually important because once you log into the Design Studio, we use the default browser to log in. And Internet Explorer
Ah.
does not render nicely, it doesn't look good and weird. So that's why we want you to change it to a modern browser. Internet Explorer is dead since years, right? Time to move
Yeah.
on.
Absolutely. All right. So now the next step is we have to navigate to the RP Hub. So it's asking us to go to the RP Hub, and let's open the RP Hub up. I'm gonna close this other tab. And in the RP Hub, we have to go to the list and robot. I'm gonna unpin this all application because we don't need it. And I'm gonna click on this particular thing list, and we have to go to automation robot, administration robot. We are going here, and now we have to click on new robot. And once we click on new, it's asking us like to put a name and everything. And but before this, it is asking us like to open window PowerShell. The lab guide saying we have to open window PowerShell. So Daniel, like, why not you give us some brief why we need to open this window PowerShell and all?
Absolutely. So what you're doing here essentially is you're registering that virtual machine as a machine we can use to run a robot on, right? It's similar like when you install a mid server, you need to let ServiceNow know that you have a mid server and where that mid server is, right? That's basically what we're doing. It could probably
Ah.
be more convenient, like, hey, a register button on the desktop and it does it himself. It's fairly manual at this point. That's also why we need to know the machine name. So when the robot connects to the ServiceNow instance, that we know, yeah, we know you. You are a robot. You are okay to connect, right? So that's basically what.
Mhm. Gotcha. And I think, yeah, this is one thing like people who are watching us live. So in the lab, it's mentioned host name, and here it's mentioned machine name. So
Oh,
both things are similar. So
good call
that's
out. Yes,
totally
this is
fine.
it.
I just saw that.
Right.
Perfect. So I think this is now we have created this robot. Now we have like now we can go back to the list, and we'll go to the bot processes, open the visitor bot configuration that's there, and open the assigned robot list. Let me open that. And here we're going to click on add. And I think we're going to add the same robot that we just created, right?
Correct. Now
So
we are
that,
telling basically RPA Hub that this virtual machine, which you call Lab VM, is allowed to execute our visitor bot.
oh, got it. So I can understand like this bot process is more of like a container which have all the things like credentials,
Mhm.
configuration, bots, and everything. I think
Correct.
that's there, right?
Yeah.
That's perfect. All right, so I think we are set here. Now let's go into the next step is like to open this particular KB article as per lab guide. So I'm going to go into knowledge. I'm going to pin it again for a minute. You can search in the global search, but I
Yeah.
just sometimes I prefer like going old school way, like go into all
I was just
and
about to
click.
say you can use global search, but both ways
Yeah.
lead to the same result. That's okay.
Exactly. You can do that. It's like kind of my habit to type knowledge and go there. I didn't, yeah, that's there. But like let's open this particular KB article that's there. So once we open this article, so we will get this particular batch tool that's there. I think this is our custom application, Daniel. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That is correct. And you're now in the backend view of the article, right? There's also the front end portal ways. If you both ways work, but the
Mhm.
intent is this article keeps files that you need. In this case, it's a batch tool, which is a Windows application that we have crafted and built for this purpose to show how our UI recorder, which we'll get to in the next exercise, can
Oh,
interrogate such an application.
that's nice. Let's go and like the next step is more of like, because I think this is a custom tool, right? So we have to unblock it, otherwise like it won't run, right? So
That's
let
Windows
me
safety
open.
settings. Yes, so you downloaded
Yeah,
something from the internet, right? Somewhere, yeah. This is ServiceNow instance, but still, it's downloaded. So Windows thinks this could be a malicious file, and you need to explicitly allow it.
gotcha, because this is our custom thing. So I just open the file and right click on it, click on properties. Oh, where is that property gone? Like let's click on again. Yeah, so we can click on unblock, and let me click on OK. So that's there. What's the next step will be? I think we can just go ahead and quickly run this application just to see if it's working or not. So let's see if it works. Okay, now it's working fine. Perfect. I'm going to close it for now. And next step is more about like, let's connect our unattended robot to our instance. So Daniel, like, what's an unattended robot? I have heard there is something like an attended robot.
Yeah.
So what's the difference and why we are connecting this to our instance?
Right. So yeah, let's start with the first question. We have an unattended and an attended robot. The difference is that unattended robots are, as the name suggests, running unattended. So they typically run in a data center, virtual machine, on a server somewhere. Nobody sees them doing work. It is just really background processing doing stuff. That's the unattended robot. An attended robot, though, is something that would run in collaboration with the user in front of the screen, right? So it might open up screens for the user to look up stuff, right? Imagine a call center agent. When a call comes in, we take the phone number and we open up his CRM system right at the correct screen so you can see who's the customer calling, things like that. So the difference is attended runs in collaboration with a human in front of the screen, and unattended runs
Mhm.
somewhere in the back in a data center. What you install now, what you have here, or what we have pre-installed here, is a service that gets installed on the Microsoft machine. So if you look if you look in Windows services, system setting services, you will see that listed as an entry there. It starts automatically when the machine starts up and things like that. And to differentiate, we also have the unattended and the attended service. So depending on your needs and your use case, you install either one of them, not both at the same time. If you look here for ServiceNow, unattended robot, something like
ServiceNow unattended robot. Yeah, that's there. Oh, so major difference is like unattended robot is more about like there is no supervision required
that. Right.
from the agent or someone, and attended means it works in collaboration with the agent. Yeah,
Correct.
there can be certain cases where we need the agent to be there.
Correct.
Gotcha. So the second question was like why we are adding the URL and connecting
Yes.
it to
Why
the
are we
instance.
connecting them? Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I missed that. So the unattended robot that is installed on that machine or that you install in your environment needs a connection to ServiceNow. The unattended robot itself won't do anything. It's similar to a mid-server. It's just sitting there not doing anything. So we need to have a connection to ServiceNow to work with modern firewalling system, networking systems. The connection is going outbound from that robot machine to ServiceNow. So it's a standard HTTPS connection, can go through proxies if it needs to. So you do not need to open any firewall ports, expose that machine to the internet or something like that. That's why we have that connection outgoing from the virtual machine. Hence, you need to enter it here and register it or let it register with the ServiceNow instance.
Gotcha. That's perfect. Thanks, Daniel. And Daniel, I think like these are different authentication type, right? One is the basic
Correct.
and one is the MTLS that's
So for
supported,
the
right?
lab sites, for the lab environments, we typically use basic authentication, regular username passwords. For real life custom environment with probably more security than in this lab environment, you would rather
Mm.
use the MTLS, which uses certificate-based authentication. So you can really be sure it is the right machine and not somebody trying to use that credentials as a backdoor to your environment.
Yep. Yep. Totally agree with you. And I think, Daniel, you have even put some references for a certificate, like if somebody wants to refer. Thank you very much for that, adding it. All right. Now I think we are into the designing of the automation part. I think this is my favorite part, like how we're gonna design it. So I'm gonna just minimize this particular thing, or I think if I even click on this close, it will be running in the background, right?
Correct. It will stay in the system tray. You will have an icon for it being. It is a service that runs as a service, right? So you don't need to have it open.
Ah, gotcha. So I think like the first thing is about we have to give it like a name, lab instance, and I think then we have to give the URL of our instance, similar to how we connected the unattended robot, but this time it's
Mhm.
different. Let me just put the URL and I click on proceed.
Oh,
So let's see. Now I think it's just downloading all the required components that are required, right? I think it might take a
correct.
minute or two
It's
for
synchronizing its own version with the instance you're
ah.
targeting, right? If you're running in Utah, Tokyo, Vancouver instance, that step is kind of synchronizing the local studio to the target instance. That's why it's asking for an instance to do that.
Mhm,
Also, the design studio does not necessarily need to be installed on that virtual machine you run your unattended robots. You could install the studio on your local Windows machine. It's the authoring environment for the robot. It's like visual code for programming, right? You could run that anywhere else. It is the building environment. The
mhm,
unattended robot we just did before is the execution piece of it. So on this lab, we do both in the same machine, but that is not needed as such.
mhm. Gotcha. So I think it's more of like, yeah, it's syncing. That's why it didn't ask us for any kind of credentials or anything as of
It
now.
will come after in the next step, yes. It's currently
Oh,
only synchronizing libraries.
gotcha. I thought like it's doing without any credential. I thought like unattended robot, it's pulling the credential from the unattended robot itself. But yeah,
It's completely separate. It will ask you for credentials probably in the next step.
perfect. Yeah, let's give it. I think it takes couple of minutes,
Yeah,
maybe.
it's a few megabytes it needs to download, and the lab environments are not really fast.
Yeah, I think it
And
opened
it's
up.
only the
Let's.
first time you actually do that, right? The next time it connects, it figures out, oh, it's the same version still, and then it's much faster.
Oh, gotcha. So I think now it's trying to connect it to the instance that's there. Okay, cool. It's connected, and I'm gonna do a similar thing now, like the what I did previously. I have a split screen. I hope you're able to see the left side. Also, now in the step, we have something like you have to give the name and the description. I'll just skip the description and click on OK. And again, it's downloading certain things. And once it's done, then we're gonna explore certain things. So let's see. The next step is more about like expand activities in the project explorer. So I see on the project explorer. So Daniel, like I see this project explorer activities and global objects. So what are these things?
So a project is an automation file. You can see that if you are a full stack developer like you, Visual Studio, you open up a development project that has all your libraries, references, and all the things in it. That's the same here. You open a project for a given automation. And in that project, you can have activities which are different routines, sub methods, subroutines that you can use and reuse, for example. Global objects are like global variables you would use that you want to have available in each and every of the subroutines or activities, as we call them. So it's kind of holding together everything needed to execute that automation.
Sounds good. Gotcha. So I think it has all the component like the activities, global objects, all these things are there. So like in the next step, we are trying to just create a new activity, and once we click on the new activity, it's asking us to give it a name. So it's saying like get data from RP Hub. So I can just copy this thing and probably double click on it and add the name here, right? I hope
Correct.
that's there.
I like to organize things in activities. You don't need to essentially, but it kind of is a more cleaner environment. If you come back to that robot 6 months later with the activities, you can
Hmm.
understand easier what it's actually doing than having one big flow.
Gotcha. I think yeah, that's there. So I just put it like get data from get data, simple. And now it's asking us like, okay, we have created the activities. Now let's do something like expand the RP toolbox and find queue. So it's in the RP Hub on the left side. That's a toolbox. It's asking us to expand queue, and it's asking us to drag the queue to global object. Let's do that.
Mhm.
So I've done that thing. Now I think I have a queue object that's created. So let me go ahead and rename this thing. So let's click on it, and you can see that we have two things. One is the name and a queue. I think name is a backend value, so we shouldn't be changing that. We should just put it in the queue name. That's what you are mentioning here
Well,
also.
the name is basically how it's been presented within Desktop Design Studio. You can change
Mm.
that. That's just for your organization. Q name is the name that it
Ah.
has on the ServiceNow instance. That has to match exactly what is in ServiceNow. That's kind of how we pair ServiceNow objects to robot objects.
Gotcha. I think, yeah, that's there. So queue name is for us, and the name is the backend name is the queue thing. We can change it, but it's better to don't we shouldn't change the official things. If somebody else is viewing it, they might get confused. So that's a good point. So second thing is like we have to now we have this pick work item that's there. We have to drag it to the canvas.
Yeah,
And
while you do
then
that, I think there's one thing just for the viewers of this that might not have seen that. You double clicked on that Q object as you renamed it. By that double click, the left hand side of the screen refreshed and showed activities or actions, methods you can do with that Q. So a
mhm,
queue in a global object provides certain features. You like picking work item, that's the one we use here to take an item out of the work queue. There's others like updating and things like that. But double
mhm.
clicking the queue refresh the left hand side of the screen to show the methods available for that particular object.
Gotcha. And yeah, that's there. I missed that. Like when I double clicked on it, this thing got refreshed. So that's a nice thing. Like all these things are connected. And now, like I think that for the next step in the lab, you can see we have to connect the start to the queue. So I think like what I'm understanding is like pick work item. It's more about like what are the work queue that we created initially in the starting of the lab.
Mhm.
It will be just picking those items that's there. So I
Correct.
think, yeah, that's there. So now it's like we have to just select this thing up, and then we have to click on the gear icon that's on
Mhm.
the top. So I think this is more of a configuration for this particular activity that's there. And it's saying that go to the JSON properties and add the like all these JSON part notation. So I feel like these are the same data that's coming from the queue item. So that's why we are adding these things, right?
Absolutely correct.
So
That
I have to. Mhm,
component will pull an item from the queue, and within that item, we saw early on that JSON string with the data elements. And to process that, we need to kind of expand or extract it from the JSON. And as it's a very simple JSON with just some name value pairs, we can use this convenience method, configuring our queue object to immediately extract that as individual attributes, variables, whatever you want to call that.
gotcha. So yeah, I think that's there, and that's why I'm just side by side entering it. All these like the JSON entry. It's basically the same thing. So people who are watching us live, you can even go back to the JSON that I showed earlier, which is also in the lab. You will find all these fields are similar to that JSON.
Yeah. They need
So
to be
let's.
exactly written, right? They are case sensitive to really find that. If you make a typo here, you will miss that and it cannot find that attribute.
Ah, that's also there. So I think what I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna paste these labels in the chat also, like in the description and everywhere, so that people you guys can copy paste directly, because right now I'm typing it, and sometimes I can we can make typos, right? So I'm gonna give you a list also of these things.
Yeah. And yeah, just talking about maybe future, right? We could imagine that we inspect the JSON string and build it automatically, things like that. So there are things that we can still
Mm,
enhance for sure. But
that's
as of the Utah Vancouver release, that's how we do it.
yeah, I think I like the idea. Like we give it a JSON and it automatically creates all these variables. Yeah, that's something that's nice. And so now it's more of like you have put the description, like the component will pick data from it, and that's there. Now what's the next step is more about like you we have to create variables again in the global. So what's these variables,
Mhm.
right,
So
Jason?
yeah. Right now, you basically have that queue component that would extract the information, and we have them available as outputs of this component box
Mhm.
there. But later on in the lab, we want to reuse these variables or these informations in other activities like populating the badge tool, populating the parking space reservation. So we want to reuse that to make it easier for reusability. We're going to create global variables so we can store the information and pick them up from anywhere. Right now, they are only a local information within that activity and not available to other activities.
Got it. I think we have to create like 10 of these items. I think I've created one, two, three, four, five, six. I have to create like total of 10. I think, yep. I have created 10 items, so I just have to now go ahead and rename these things up.
Correct. It's a lot of
So,
typing, copy pasting.
yeah, that's there. So that's why for our users who are watching us, I'm going to copy paste this particular list in the description so that for you guys, you don't have to type everything. You can
I think
just
if you go
right
up
click.
in the lab guide, there should be a table somewhere of these, but yeah.
Yeah, we can also update the lab guide. That's there. So I'm going to do something like access level.
And on this
And
point, as you create these global variables, the names here, you could have different names, right? They are not necessarily need to be one-on-one matching, but
hmm,
obviously it's a good idea, best practice for you to know what you'll be doing to keep it in sync somehow.
got it. And I don't see there is a different like how we had a queue name, right? So
Hmm.
that's there. So it's different. It's like
Yeah,
just a single name thing. So
correct.
then like I also heard these are like global variable. Is there something like a local variable also?
Absolutely, yes. These global variables are accessible from anywhere in your automation. We mentioned earlier on we can create different activities, like we did the get data, right? And we will do some more activities later. Global variables are accessible from any activity. The same thing on the activity itself. You could also do a right mouse button, create variable. Then you have the variable only within that activity. As soon as the activity finishes, your variable is gone.
Oh, got it. So those are local. These won't go away. That's there.
Exactly. They will only go away when the robot finishes.
Got it. So I think I'm gonna put these thing, last name, that's there, and we have put like so location, and lastly I'm gonna put something like work item, work item ID. Cool. So I think we have created all these things. Now it's asking us to drag the company variable to our canvas. So I'm gonna just drag it, and it's asking us to drag all the variable on the company one. Let's
Mhm.
see if I do this. Oh, it's creating in one. That's
Exactly. You could
nice.
have them all separate. It's just making a more messy screen, let's say. But in this case, you can
Mhm.
have all at the same moment. Yeah.
I think I like this way. This it has all the things. So I think I just count it again. So if we have created all 10, I think I created 9. Is it something like we need 9? So I have company, we have email, then we have access, then we have title. I think I missed the first name.
Ah,
Good guy. I felt like there is something that's missing.
it's difficult to
But
work and talk. I highly appreciate you for that.
yeah, I am like now I'm getting used to it. Work and talk. So I think we have created all the variables now.
Mhm.
And now it's more of like I got it. So we have to just whatever the items that we are getting, whatever the queue is, we're just copy pasting those JSON into these global variable for us to use in later. So I think
Correct.
I get that one. So I think we have to do location to location, and I have to do the mapping.
Correct.
So work item, that's there. And we don't need we have company, so I'm gonna do company. there. I hope, I think I can zoom it a bit for our audience to see.
Yeah, good.
That's there. And I'm gonna do title, and it's bit messy, folks. People might be saying, "Oh, so many connections." Right? Simple. If you go through the lab guide, it's there. I just started off like from bottom, so it's like a bit messy. I think that's there. Like, let me do ID, and I'm gonna do some last name, and lastly, we have first name also. So we have connected everything now.
Mhm,
And I think we have this thing. And to ensure the automation runs only when I'm reading this 20-second step, we
mhm.
have to drag the is null or empty component from the toolbox and drop it out in the code. So I think it's more of like if the variable is empty or not, right?
Correct. It's like the pick work item, or that yeah, pick work item element that we have will return no matter if there is a work item or not, right? So we don't
Hmm.
know yet if there was something. It could just be an empty string that we could parse.
Ah,
That's why we say we'll double check that what comes in is actually really what we need, or something we can work with. Input validation,
gotcha.
we can call that.
Perfect. And I think now the next thing is like that is available in the toolbox. So we have already Object Explorer is open. So we have to click on the toolbox,
Mhm.
and I'm just going to search the same thing. And I'm going to put it here is null. And once I put it there, so I have to then connect it to this. And once I connect it, I think that's how it is. And or no, I think we have to
Mhm.
have a decision also.
That's
Let
coming up
me,
there. Yeah.
yeah, we have to put a decision here. I'm just putting it somewhere right now. And in the decision, I have to connect it to, we have to put it somewhere here is null or empty. That's there. It's connected. And drag the decision components and connect it to is null activity. I think, let's see. I'll just go scroll a bit so that I have some screenshot of how it's getting connected.
Mhm.
So we have connected this, and I'm going to drag the end activity a bit bottom. And now I think we have to connect this to this. I think it's not is null, it's just is empty, is empty. And I think I can do is empty. That's
Yeah,
there.
so maybe while you do that, what it does in a traditional programming language, you would do that probably in one line of code, like if is null or empty, open brackets, your variable, and just do that in all in one line. We can't do that here.
Hmm.
We need to connect different components. The first one is null or empty will identify if something is null or not. So we get a true or false information back. And the second one, the decision will allow us to branch off if it is null or not. So the first one is identifying it. The second one is making that decision what to do with that information.
Got it. I think like if it is empty, then we are just doing it end in not doing anything. And other thing is that this decision is connected to this something like terminate activity. So that we, I think, just created in above. I think I'll scroll it a bit, and I'm just gonna search terminate.
Correct.
And so Daniel, like what is this terminate activity? Like I get it like somewhat, but I thought of checking with you what's it.
Sure. Terminate will, as the name says, terminate our automation. It will stop. And it allows us
Mm,
a message back to ServiceNow saying, why did we stop? What went wrong, right? It's kind of an error handling technique to say, we need to stop. Something is wrong. We cannot continue with the execution of our automation. In this case, we say, if the entry that we get is empty, we have nothing to work on, we stop and we tell back to ServiceNow, you didn't give us anything to work with.
got it, got it. And I think that's there. And it's saying that we have to put it at static, and we have to mark it true, mark it like that based on this thing. So I think
That's, we will
that's
tell ServiceNow this is an error condition. We are stopping because of an error.
got it. And I think let me connect this thing up. And yeah, I think we are done. Cool. So this is how our automation looks like. Let me just zoom it a bit and put it on focus. And let me zoom it more. So we started off like, let me give so because I understand like it might be overwhelming for people if you're seeing for the first time. And you can see like we have firstly created a queue in the back end, and we are just picking up the queue item. Then we are just parsing the queue item and storing it in some global variables. Like once we are done storing those things, what we are doing is like we are just checking if the queue is empty or not. If it is empty, then we are just terminating those things. So that's pretty much it. That's what we have done, just to capture all the variables from the JSON and storing it as global variables. That's
And it
there.
might look like that we end our automation in both cases after the decision in the moment. But the
Hmm.
difference is the terminate is ending full stop the automation, versus the other end gives control to the next activity. We will connect different activities later on, so that will make more sense after the next step.
Mm. Ah, got it. I think that's there. And maybe we'll do something in the main window. That's there. This
Correct.
is more of a new activity. Cool. I
Correct.
think I'm somewhat getting a hang of it now. So now let's do the second part. It's like part two is the recording the batch tool. So the tool that we downloaded, we have to record that thing up. So so Daniel, what's this recording thing that's there? What's this launch recorder? What's this universal recorder thing?
So that is a new feature, half a year old feature that we delivered with the Utah
Hmm.
release, right?
Yeah.
Earlier on this year, and that is like you could see that in Excel a macro recorder, right? It monitors what you're doing on screen and generates at least a shell or a stop or something to start with as an automation flow. We will see that as you go through. You can really tell it, hey, click here, enter text here, click here, do this. Once you're done, you say, now get me the automation file, and it will generate the flow like we see it here now, that what you've built manually. It will
Hmm.
generate that flow elements for you. Is it perfect?
Oh,
Probably not, but it gives you a good starting grid, right? You don't need to think about all the individual steps you have to do, as it records as you do it.
got it. I think like so side by side, I was just reading through the steps because when I'm doing the universal recorder, I don't think I can come back to this thing and I can follow certain things. So yeah, let's play around with it. Like maybe this is my first time playing with the universal recorder, so it might be a bit challenging. But what I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna drag this particular file, the bash tool, to my desktop, and I'm gonna launch it. So we let me click on it. It should launch up, and yeah, it's launched. Now what I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna click on this launch recorder button. So I have clicked it. Now let me just so for people who are watching us, let me go through the guide once what we are trying to do. So we're gonna click on generate employee batch. We're gonna click on this thing when we have turned on the universal recorder. Then we're gonna just set some text and other stuff, and then we'll just stop it. So let's see. It's more of like how we are doing manually. All these things we're gonna use universal recorder for it.
And you
So
can have the lab guide open and in parallel. It doesn't hurt, right? As you tell the recorder which steps are relevant, so you can move
oh
around and stuff in parallel. It's not that it's actually capturing
oh
everything you do. You need to tell him what it has to capture.
gotcha. I thought like that's it. That's actually a pretty good thing. So I didn't know that. That's why you are here, Daniel. Perfect.
That's
So now
probably
let
good stuff that we could mention in the guides or in the documentations even more, right?
yes. So because generally like idea is like if you're clicking on something record, general idea is like it will record the whole screen, like how a normal recording thing works. So that's why I felt like we shouldn't be opening this lab guide. But yeah.
The recorder
Okay.
tries to not use screen elements for navigation. It tries to decompose really the objects it sees on screen and saying, oh, I find a button with that name. Oh, I find a window with that. Right. So wherever you move the window to, it should still be finding the objects afterwards.
Ah, that's there. Cool. I think now it's time to play with the universal recorder. Like
Yeah.
let's click on this recording. And first thing is like we're gonna click on generate batch, and it's saying that okay, you have to click it. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
operation. It automatically identified that. Now it's saying like okay, we have to enter the name. So I think it's not a click, it's more of a set text. So I'm gonna do set. I'm gonna put it name, and I'm gonna do same thing with ID number. Oh, I'm doing gonna do ID number.
So these flyovers, popovers, whatever you want to call them, these come from our universal recorder. So everywhere you move your mouse to, we try to identify what is underneath the mouse. What kind of control element do we find? Is it a text box? Is it a control box? Is it a button? And then we try to give you opportunities or actions that we can do with that object, right? That's
Mhm.
kind of why it's not important where on screen it is, what else is on the screen around. So we used the bespoke actions to record what you
Mhm.
can do. Sometimes it's a
Yeah.
bit picky. You see it flicking around as we try to get your mouse movements, right? That's just the
Mhm.
way how it works. So try to work slowly with your mouse if you have to, and make sure you get the right elements. Sometimes also underneath your mouse, there might be multiple elements, right? There may be hidden screens or nested elements, and then you can navigate. The lab guide teaches you that with, I think, arrow up or arrow back or something like that. Yeah, that little arrow up there to navigate through the different elements it sees. Make sure you hit the right one. Sometimes there is a span and the edit element is inside the span and things like that. But that takes a bit of practice, I would say, to work with the recorder.
Yeah, I think like, but Daniel, it's a very smooth experience. Like I know it's like it's showing us as click. We have to click on above and all, but I felt it's a very smooth experience. Like using it for the first time, using this in the lab. So I think it was a really smooth experience. So I think we have recorded this particular stuff. I thought like it might be a bit complex, but it's a very simple. That's there. And let's save this recording now. And I'm gonna give it like a name. So okay, it's save as a global object, enter data to batch tool. And I'm creating a new global object that's there. And I'm gonna put like batch tool as object. Okay, we are creating a new activity, and this is a new object that's there.
You'll
Oh,
see
so
that now
oh
it pops up. There we go.
oh, it created all these things for us. That's nice. Yeah, I really like this tool for now. That's there. It's
Yeah, it
it's
makes the
like
development much, much faster, right? And now you have the full
much.
sequence of activities, and all you need to do, which is the next level steps in the guide, wiring up. We have the variables that we did in the first part. Now we have the
Mhm.
sequence that we recorded in the second one, and we need to marry them, marry the variables to the steps where we need them, and
Ah,
put in some
got
resiliency and things like that. But overall, we have our flow.
perfect. I think yeah, that's there. Let's quickly do that. So we what we are trying to do is like now whatever the variable global variables were there, we're gonna map it to this particular activity. So it's saying that like we have to right click on the batch tool
Mhm.
activity that's there, and I see these are all edits. I don't know, like select one of the edit elements, and okay, it's saying that edit that's there, and it's saying that we have to copy the name here,
Yeah,
match attribute.
as the recorder records your activities, it
Hmm.
names the entities that it finds by the type. So all the text fields are edit fields, so that's why they call edit. Now it's a bit difficult working in the canvas in the flow when every object is called edit, right? Which edit am I actually targeting? That's why we say, well, go in and rename them to make it more easy for you as you build a robot. That's why we go into this step and do that. It looks a bit cumbersome, and maybe we could be smarter in terms of naming these elements in the recorder. Yes, but for the time being, go in, make these changes, and rename the object so you know which one is which, and you try to marry it up with the variables.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to do. So for easy way, what I found is like when you click on these things, you double click, you click on it, you click on the ID, you just copy the name, and then you click on something else, and you click back to the edit, so you can just copy paste these things up. So that's kind of a easy way I found. And I think I have one more question, Daniel, for you in this. Let me just quickly paste this thing up. So you can
Mhm.
see, like in the lab guide, it's showing as yellow color. right? That's
Mhm.
there. But in my thing, it's not showing that. So what's the thing?
So the yellow greenish color there means it is identified. You can go onto that batch tool that you just highlighted, click a right mouse
Yeah.
button and say refresh. Refresh will try to find the elements on the screen right now. So it will go through, and when
Oh,
it finds it, it turns on that. It's like a traffic light. Green, yes, I found it. And you can do that in each and every one of them. And I think there's also a refresh all, which just goes to the whole tree, trying to see, can I find the elements at the moment? Are they currently on screen? Yes or no? And if they're green, then our robot says, yes, I found them all and they're all unique. I know exactly where they are. If there's more than one, right, sometimes the ID might not be unique, something like that. I think we'll see that later. It will put in a square bracket behind the label name and a number, how many entities did we find. So if you're working with tabular data, maybe you find 5 rows and you want to get one element, it will say, well, I find 5. Which ones do you want? Right? So it helps you to go through that. But the green light says, yes, I know where the element is. I found it. It's currently on screen and I could do something with it.
yeah. I think like because our batch tool is opened up, right? So that's why
If you
it's able
close
to
the batch
find
tool
it.
and run the refresh, it will turn red saying, I don't find them.
Oh, let's try that. Something new to try. Oh,
At least it
it's
stays white. Yeah, not red. It
yeah,
stays white
yeah.
saying, I can't find them. I don't know where they are.
Yep, yep, yep. Perfect. So I think the next step in this is like more of like we have to click on the batch tool and just to remove this class equal because I think class changes multiple times. So we don't want like when the batch tool is running, we don't want it to also have that class as a criteria. So we are
Correct. Every
just
time
turning
you
it off.
launch the application, Windows will assign a different class. It's just a
Hmm,
unique thing for the window being opened.
gotcha. So I think we are done with this process. Click on done, and we can see all the components are there and it's all everything is updated with the new names. Perfect.
Mhm.
And I think now what's the next step is like it's now time to replace the recorded values with dynamic inputs from the previous activity. Okay, so we have to drag journal format text
Yeah, so the
format.
batch tool does not have a separate input for first name and last name. It only has name. So we need to
Ah,
concatenate first and last name into one field, and we use the format
mm,
text component to craft the string that we need for the batch tool.
gotcha. I think that's
Some string
there.
manipulation put in here.
Yes, so I think I'm gonna drag both these thing and I'm gonna just put it together
You don't
so
need
that
them
it
actually.
look.
You can remove them. The lab shows you a different way to do that, so you can just take that off.
Oh, okay,
That would work as well. What you have tried, it's not wrong. Just trying to the lab guide shows you a different option. On that
got
format text, you need to create the inputs first. And that's with that green
okay.
plus icon on the format text. That's the step 16. You need
You
to tell
can
them you get
see.
2 different inputs. And that's where you can drag your first and last name to.
So yeah, I think I clicked on this green and there are two entries that are there, and I think now it's asking us to drag these two together.
Yes,
And first name,
you
and
need to
I'm gonna
drag
do
them
oh,
on these yellow dots. That's the data ports, not onto the row, really on the yellow dot.
okay. Let me see if oh now it's there.
And that,
And
what you
yeah,
see here, is what we call a data teleportation. We teleport the information into that box without showing
mhm.
any lines, makes it a bit cleaner on your canvas. The other thing would have worked. A variable in front of it, dragging the lines into it would work the same way. It's just more components on screen, more wires to do, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, got it. I think I totally get it now. That's why both ways work. Like you can add variable, but this looks much cleaner. I think
Correct.
that's there. And I
Yeah.
think like the gear icon, when I clicked on gear icon, this toolbox came up. It's more of like telling the component that it's like concatenate both the things,
Yeah,
both the
exactly.
variables. Is.
You could have
Yep.
hard-coded text in between, like Mr. and Mrs., quote signs, or whatever. It's kind of putting in the pattern what to do with the 2 inputs. In our case, it's just concatenating.
Gotcha. And I think you have added a nice challenge, like add a third input. So if we have to add a third input, I think we have to drag it here, and I think we have to create first input first,
Correct.
and we have to do this title, and then we have to do something like gear icon. Oh, It's gear icon, and I think we have to do curly brace and two.
Correct. You
Yep,
got it.
I got it now. And don't forget to add a space. Otherwise, it will be like first name and title will be concatenated, like same
Correct.
thing. So, cool. I think we are good with this. So we have this particular thing. Now we have to. It's saying like we have to double click. We have the format text component right before the text name. So we have the text name. I'm gonna just pull it down a bit. So this is the name. It's asking us, firstly, I think I have to delete this one. I think if I click on delete, I just press the delete icon. So it's saying I have to connect this thing up and I have to, yeah, maybe I have to remove this default value that I set,
Correct. You have
right?
to
So
take
if
that off
I
and make a data port.
Yep, I have to do this now. And now from here, I'm going to connect it to this. I think this is the one. This
Mhm.
is how it is, right? Let me just zoom it in the lab guide just to verify that that's how it should be. Yep, you can see that format text, it's there, its output is going into a string, and boom. So that's how we have done that. Okay. So the only missing step is now to open and close the batch tool.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's there. So now we have to double click on the batch tool project explorer. Okay, that's there. We have this and we have the start activity. So we have that's kind of my question. It was like how we're gonna start it. Now it's mentioned in the lab guide. So that's there.
Correct.
I'm gonna
As,
click on.
as you launch it before you start the recorder doesn't capture the starting application. So we'll need to add that.
Oh, I think I've just added this particular thing and I'm gonna just slightly just drag it here. Okay, so you
The
can see,
StreamYard
right?
screen, by the way, is frozen, right? I
Oh, is it fine now?
yeah. Oh, now it came back. It took a while, but now it came back. Ooh,
Oh,
I
perfect.
missed like the last 2 minutes on StreamYard.
Uh, okay, I think now it's there. So you can see we have the start activity that's there. We have
Mhm.
added it. Now in the start activity, it's more of like we have to add, we have to just, I think, maybe configure it.
Mhm.
So for the double tap, we have to copy the path. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's like application type it will be application type. I think that's there. It
Mhm.
will be it's an application, so we are setting it as application, and we need to set the path that's there.
Mhm.
So how we can get a path is, I think, like it will be much easier if we, I think it will be mentioned in here also, like how we can
Yeah.
get the path. So we have to go to the properties and security tab, will get the path. So right click on the application, click on properties, and go into the security tab and you will get the path on top.
That's what I
Uh,
found is the quickest way. There might be others, but I that's
yeah,
where I get the whole thing that I need.
everything is there. I think let's go back to, oh, I don't need the instance. I'm going to do this and I'm also going to do my lab guide. So you can see in the path, I'm going to put the path link here. And now last step, I think is it's more of like connecting these things together.
Correct.
I just did the connection. Perfect. So now I think we have connected everything. Oh, one more step is there. It's more of like we have to close the batch tool also after it's open up because we that's the I think we could have recorded that using the universal recorder also. Like if you click on the cross icon, it should also
Probably, yeah.
close. Yeah, that's there. I think let's see. But for now we didn't record it. So people who are watching us, you guys can try it. Like try to record the record also, or like the close option through the universal recorder. So I'm just doing this and I'm gonna connect my batch tool and I think my automation is so I think my automation is almost set.
Did you
right?
replace all the other variables already?
Variables.
The
Oh
other
no.
text elements?
Oh no, I didn't do that. So I think I missed that step.
Probably. You
Let's
did
let's see.
the name now, but we need like the access level and all the others, right?
I think I missed the step. Step number 23, where you can see this all these things are
Yeah.
empty, right? So I
Repeat
think
all the other variables accordingly. Yeah.
yes, that's something I missed. I think we only did for first name
Correct.
and ID number. Oh, I think that will be an easy thing because if we just remove this empty text, I'm gonna remove for everything so that we have this green dot that comes up, right? And now what I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna do title here
Correct. So you're now
and
teleporting the variables again. So you don't need any lines on the
teleporting.
screen, right?
Yeah, I like this name teleporting there. That's there. And we have the phone number also. That's also text. So I'm gonna do phone number. And I think this particular access level, this is also hard coded. So I think I can just put it to access level. I think yeah. Let's go back to the this PDF and just to I'll zoom it. So I did it for ID, I did it title, location, as well as the access level. Cool. So I think we are done with all the steps in this lab.
Oh, that looks good.
Perfect. I think I'll that's there. So now let's see. So Daniel, can we test this thing up?
Yeah, you absolutely can. What you need to
Perfect.
do is you need to run the get data to get information, and then you run
Mm,
the other one in a sequence
mm.
without clearing the log in between. Then it should work.
Okay, I'll do
No,
something
like
like
this one
I'll
will execute main. Main doesn't have anything yet. Main is empty. So you need to go
oh
into the activity and do a run from here inside the activity.
I think okay, run from here.
Correct.
That's there. I
So
right
it's a
click on
run.
it.
Yeah.
So for people who are watching us, like I just right click on the start. I firstly went into the get data activity. That's there. I clicked on it. I did run from here, and it's like throwing some error.
Does it?
That's
Ooh, what error?
yeah, that's there. It's saying that exception is thrown. Please use assign bot process.
Yeah,
So
we'll need to tell them which robot we are. That is correct. So there is a
yes,
button in your toolbar saying assign robot. We need to tell the design studio, as it's not connected to an instance yet, which instance do we want to work against, which robot process are we actually executing. So we'll need to set it up something so it can run as a kind of a development environment. Yes.
gotcha. I think that's perfect. So first thing is like, folks, when you click on this assign thing, assign bot process, you click on this edit one and make sure you have checked the launch in default browser. Right? Otherwise, it will try to open in IE, which won't work. So we have done this thing, and let me just try to click on connect. So it probably will ask me for to click on allow, and once I click on allow, it should connect. And I have the bot process as Vesture bot configuration. I have a lab VM, and let me click on OK.
And it did not ask you for any credentials, as you were already logged in the browser with the same instance. So it found the cookie, it used the session that the browser has. If you don't have a
Mm,
session in your browser open with ServiceNow, you'll get to the login screen first.
gotcha. I think yeah, that's there. And it's always like when you're building something, first time it won't work. If it works for the first time, I think you're doing something wrong. So
That's always a worrying thing. Like, did it do what it
yeah,
was supposed to do?
yes. And let's go from run from here. And I think it's
It can
running.
work
Oh,
fine.
it worked fine. There is no error. Now let's go into the batch tool,
Do the same
and I'm gonna do it from run from here, and it's running. Let's see what's coming up. Oh, there is an error here. Let's see what's the error. It's saying that we cannot find see this particular path that's there. So let me see why it's not able to find that. So we have added the path like this. If I just put like something like patch tool, Will
Won't
it
work.
work?
It will. It does need the full pass, but it's kind of a tiny font, so I can't really spot if there's an error.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do a zoom it. Let's see. Oh, it's still an error. Let's see what's the error. So it's saying that file doesn't exist with the name Vista Robot patch tool. Oh, it's trying to find the file in the Vista Robot.
If you don't
That's
give it a pass, it will try to find it in its execution directory. Yeah, but if you give the
go-
full pass, it should actually find it where it is.
gotcha. So I think what I can do is like I can just copy this batch file into our Vista Robot file, which was created by the Desktop Design Studio.
Well,
Maybe
or just
let's
try to get the whole path again. It should actually really work from the desktop. That's how I did that as well.
okay. We can try we can add the path also. I
Yeah.
think I can do put the whole path. This is the path that's there. I put it like
Make
this
sure you have
and
all the backspaces and backslash, no, backslashes all correct, and it should actually should work. C colon backslash everything. C uses it. Yeah, that looks. I think it looks good. If I could zoom
yeah,
in.
let's see. Let's
Yeah.
see if there is anything that comes up. I think it's trying to execute it. Let's see if there is, oh, it's error is coming up. So what it's doing is like it's trying to, you can see like if you're able to read it, I know
I
it's a
can
font
see.
might be a bit small, but I can read the error for everyone. It's saying that file doesn't exist with the name. It's basically it's what it is doing is like it's whatever the URL or the path that we are providing, it's considering it as a file name. That's the thing. It's not taking as a full path. So that's the thing for if you guys is able to see. I can probably do this. Daniel, let me know if you're able to read it.
It's a bit blurry, but okay. See, is the path correct with all the backslashes, or does it?
Hmm.
Well, it seems like it
Path,
has it twice in there.
path path name is correct actually. I think so. Basically, Daniel, like what's happening is like
It's
it's
concatenating.
considering the path name as a full file name. So if I remove this path name and just keep it as file name, and I have pasted the file name inside this Vista Robot. Let's see now if it works. Let me just try to run. Yeah, it's now it's working fine. So I think like what I did is like Daniel, I just put it just the file name and I just copy pasted the file in the Vista one, in the
Okay.
Vista directory, and it started to work fine.
Okay. Strange, but okay.
Yeah, let's
Should not
see.
be the case,
Like,
but let's see. Yeah.
yeah, I think there is some more error that came up. So let me just run it from here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not setting the values like
Did
what
you
we
clear the lock
expected.
meanwhile?
Yeah, I think I did. I
Yeah.
did clear the
Then all the
log.
variables are empty again, and you need to start from get data.
Oh, gotcha. See, let's see now. Let's do run from here. And we have this particular thing. Now we're going to run from here. Oh, it worked fine. That's there.
Ooh,
Ooh.
awesome. Success.
Success finally. So folks who are watching us, like in the lab guide, if you see in the lab guide, let me open the lab guide side by side so that so in the lab guide, when we are in the particular step, when we are setting the start, let me go to the step. This is a step. It's saying that we have to enter the whole path, right? If this thing doesn't work, what you can do is like you can just put the file name like I have done here. I can zoom it a bit for everyone to see, and you can see I have just put the application name here. That's there. And what I did is like I copy pasted the batch tool in the Vista robot directory. That worked for me. So up to you. You guys can try both the ways and let us know in the comment section if you face any issue. We'll try to help out with it. Okay. So Daniel, I think like we are almost at like 75% done in the
Mm-hmm.
challenge. Now let's do something like third last part of the challenge, I think. Let's
All
go
right. You
there.
now recorded a Windows-based application or .NET application, the batch tool that we created.
Mm-hmm.
And the last
Oh,
step is we want to record a web-based application to show you how that works.
gotcha. I think we have to click on the launch recorder again. Let me do that quickly. And you can see this launch recorder is there. I just clicked on it. And now what is it's doing is like, I think I can still open this thing. This is something I learned
Mm-hmm.
from you, Daniel. Now I can keep the lab guide opened up. So that's not an issue. So I'm going to go to this website that's like RP challenge. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's saying that there is some error. There is a new extension that's there. So this is an I think an RP extension. So you have to enable this extension that's there. So
Yeah,
you can
you have
see
to do
that
that
it's
one time to enable it. Yeah.
got it. So I think now we have to go to this RPA challenge.com. So I can just type RPA challenge and it will open the same website that's there. Cool. That's it loaded up. So now what we have to do is like we have to click on the recording one and we have to follow the similar process that we did previously, like setting the text and other stuff. So that's pretty much easy. So let me just click on record, the start button, and I'm gonna do something like I'm gonna just this and you can see it's there. I'm gonna click it. Now I'm gonna put set text to it. So I'm gonna put last name and I'm gonna click on record.
Yeah.
Similarly, I'm gonna do for role. So I'm gonna do role.
And especially in web pages, as you try to record elements, the flyover might move around. There's typically a lot of
Mhm.
elements on the page. You can prevent that moving around by clicking, I think, the left control button or left shift button, and then that popover will stay at the same place.
Gotcha. So I think it's saying that unable to invoke action, but the action was added in the list. So maybe it didn't set the value here on the
Mm-hmm.
web page, but it recorded it.
Yes.
That's what I think. So I think yeah, I can do phone number. I can do record. Yeah, it's there, and I'm gonna do something like email, and I'm gonna record it. I'm gonna do something for the company name. Oh,
And these are the elements where holding the control button on your mouse prevents it from moving around. Once you have the right element selected, hold control, keep on it, then you can move the mouse over and it will stay. And
good
as soon as
tip.
you
Good
release
tip.
the control, it will start move again.
Yeah, good tip. Thanks, Daniel. I think now I'm pressing the control, so it's not moving other places. Yep. And I just did that, and the last step will be more of like click submit.
Mhm.
Cool. And now let me just stop the recording, and I think we have all the text entries. I'm gonna save the recording, and I think we have to give it like a different name altogether. Let's go into the lab and just set the name exact. Oh, it's submitted. Okay, it's doing it for everything. The activity name is like enter data to form. I'm gonna do like activity name to enter data to form, and it's like global object name will be RPA challenge.
Yeah, so for each application you want to control, you want to have a global object. That's why we have now two. We got one for the batch tool and one for this website. We have something
Gotcha.
else, that's another global object, right? We want to treat them separately as entities in your automation.
Got it. Got it. And I think like Daniel, what I feel is like the next step will be more of like configuring these edit ones, right? The
Correct.
set text one. Yeah.
Correct.
Let's
And
let's
that's
do
similar
that.
to before, right? It started giving them very speaking full
Mhm,
names. I think they're just numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or something like that. So they're not
mhm, mhm.
really helpful names for us. And also that website has an extra challenge put to it. Every time you load the page, the fields are on a different place on the form. So we'll need to
Ah,
teach our robot to find the field wherever it is. We want to make it intelligent.
got it. And I think like similar to how we did with the batch tool, we have to go to the project explorer now, right click on the RPA challenge, click on configure. You can see that it's all numbered one that's coming up,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that's there. And now in this particular thing, let's go ahead and quickly read through it, what we have to do. So basically for, we have to select any number element that's there, and I'm going to zoom it in the lab guide so that everyone can see. You can see like we have to select the locator as tag name, right?
Mhm.
So we are not doing CSS selector because as Daniel you mentioned that in the RPA challenge thing, it's the fields are changing. So CSS selector won't work for us, right? So that's
Correct.
there. And the second thing is like in the match to match attributes, we have to attribute to ng reflect name,
Mhm.
that's equal to, because that's there. And I think we have this last name that's coming up. So what I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna do something like this, and I'm gonna rename also. Good.
Yeah.
So for people like who are watching it might be a bit confusing, but just follow along. Like click on any numbered one. You have to change the locator to tag name, right? And then you have to put the ng reflect name equals to label name or whatever it is
Mhm.
for that particular thing. Then you have to copy the label value of it, and you have to just click on any, just click on 2 or whatever the same number that you just opened, and just put the label so that your
Mhm.
name and this particular thing are similar, right? And when you click on next, you can see that it's renamed. Similarly, just perform this step for everything, right?
Mhm. I
Then
said
let me know.
yeah, you're doing great, right? And you're basically doing two step in ones in here. One is with by changing the locator is how we find that element on screen. The default
Mhm.
the recorder does is kind of following a CSS tree on the web page, but as the
Yeah,
elements move, that structure will change. What we do in now, we tell our locator, hey, find an input component, which is a text field, by an attribute called ng reflect name. That's the unique identifier for this particular website. For another website, it might be something else, right? So you kind of helps to know a little bit about web design and maybe inspect the web page before to know how it's structured. But that's how we can find these elements wherever they are on screen.
gotcha. So I think done like I'm just putting everything similar on the screen, and I think folks, this might be a bit prone to mistakes. So what you have to do is like once you're done with everything, make sure you just go ahead and check everything, right?
Mhm.
Which I'll also gonna do once I'm done with all these things. So, and maybe if you have followed exactly what's in the lab guide, so you will be able to see like the company name on top, but for my case it's like company name is coming bit below. That's fine, and I
Well,
think
it's
that's
also
totally fine.
depending on how the web page looked when you opened it, right?
Ah,
As I said, it will look different every time you load that. So our first field that we loaded was last name on top, I think. For you, it might be company or phone name, whatever, because that web page is kind of intentionally moving things around.
ah, because that's why it's called RPA challenge website. That's
Exactly.
there.
It wants to show kind of that can every RPA tool do that and how
Mhm.
complicated is it in that given tool. If you're funny,
Gotcha.
go through, you have basically all the ingredients and do that challenge. Use the Excel sheet, extract information and put it in. Might be another thing to learn.
Yes, exactly. I think, and people, we have done this challenge in the past on the RP challenge. There's a creator toolbox episode that Daniel and I did some time back. So I'm going to put that link also in the comment section so that you guys can play around with it. So I think we have added all the last name and everything. I'm just making sure that we have added everything correctly. And yep, we have done everything correctly. Now it's more of like we have repeated it for everything, and then we have to just select the submit button that's there and change the locator to tag name for this also. And we have to, we are, I think, and we have to enable the attribute type submit equals to. So attribute type equals to submit. That's there. And we are done, I think. So I think we have created everything now. Again, the step that I missed last time is to remove all these hard coded values and set it to the right values. That's the thing we have to do from the global variable itself.
Correct. That's why we did the
So,
global variables before, so it's very easy to access them from any activity.
yep. And I'm going to do for everything. I'm just going to firstly remove everything
Mhm.
that's there so that it's easy for me because I have the label on top. It's label last name. So it's kind of easy for me to find the last name here. It's company name. Let's see, first name, last name, Q. This is the last name that's there. I'm going to drag it here. It's called teleportation, right? Uh,
Exactly.
eh, That's that's a cool name. So
All
for
comes
the
with
role,
contract.
so now let's do what we can put in the role. I'm seeing that company
I
name,
think I used the
access.
access level. The website is relatively simply, it doesn't have any validation of the content, so
Yeah,
use
that's fine.
anything, but yeah.
So anything will work. So for the address thing, I think I can put an ID or location. I think yeah,
Location, yeah, I think I put location there.
location we can put. So folks, you can just put anything if there is no validation on the website. That's there, and we are doing the email. That's there, and I think company, and lastly we're gonna put like first name. Okay, so I think we are all done for this particular thing. You can see that we have set everything. And let's go back to the lab guide and just to verify what are the next steps that are left. So in the next step, it's more about, yeah, same thing. We have to uh, open the web page also, right? So
Mhm.
for that, I think we have to open the RP challenge and we have to just click on start, the same thing that we did. And this time, like we have to double tap the app type and we have to put it as Chrome because it's a web page. That's why
Correct.
we have to put Chrome. Last time we put as we have put it to application because we were opening an application. And you can see that now we have this particular RP challenge. Just make sure that you are copy pasting the right thing. And see, I like how what I did is I just paste it in the path and cool. Now let me zoom it a bit. So this is how it's looking like. You have the Chrome and everything that's there. And you have to do the connections like the, I'm gonna do the connections. So you have this and now you have to put something like this. And I'm just gonna connect it. And before I connect it, I think one thing I can do is like when we click on this website, I feel like there is some loading time that's there, right? So
Correct.
maybe our website might not load and our robot will try to do the steps. So what I can do is like once I launch this thing, I can give some a timer, like
Well, actually,
uh,
the next step that you see in the recorder, which the recorder put in there, is a wait for create. So it does
oh,
actually wait for it already, right? So it's doing that, and it's
okay.
waiting for that particular page to load. So you don't need to
Hmm,
do a timer because whenever that page is ready, it will start.
got it. I think that's there. And cool. I think I have put everything there. We can also put a close one, like a close, like how we did for the batch one. But I'm not doing that close thing as of now
Mhm.
because I would like to see what are the information it fills. So firstly, we'll go to data, get data to run it from here,
Correct.
and once we have data, now we're gonna do data to form. And I think I'm gonna close. Oh, I hope it's not opened up. I'm gonna close it and run from here. And let's see, it's loading up. Oh, it just submitted it. So I think as we had a submit option,
Yep.
so it just took it to there. So our
You saw it
automation
kind of
worked.
hopping randomly around and putting in text, right? That's kind of the logic to find the elements wherever they are. They were
Ah,
obviously in different sequence than before. So that's why it was not from top to bottom. It was randomly hopping through the fields. But it looked
perfect. So
random when it was recording our sequence.
yes, because of our tag selector, that we did,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Yep. Perfect. I think we are lastly we have done this thing, and the last step will be more of like just putting these all the things, the three things that we have created into the main activity, right? I
Correct.
think that's a thing. So let's see. So first thing is like we'll go to the main, and we have the start and end. I'm gonna do this, and we have the get data. First thing will be the get data thing. So I'm gonna put it get data here, and then we are entering the same thing to our batch. Then we are entering the same thing to form, right?
Correct.
And let's connect these things up together. I'm gonna connect. I think this is the same thing we have to do.
Hmm. And that's kind of how you see if you come back to that robot in 6 months' time and you open the main, you can actually see, oh, it's getting data, it's putting data in a tool, it's putting data to a form. So you kind of follow what it's doing. It's kind of why I like the activities to separate out the different disciplines or steps that the robot needs to do.
Gotcha. And I think it's asking us like double tap on the queue activity that's there. I think it's asking us to double tap on the queue activity,
Yeah.
and
Load the
it's
Object Explorer with the methods. Basically, that's why.
mhm. So that's why it's saying that, and it's saying that update object explorer. It should be update work item. That's
Mhm.
there. And now once I'm doing this update item, so I think we have to do the same thing for we have to grab this thing and put it here.
Mhm.
I think
We want to
that's
tell
there.
back to ServiceNow at the end of the process, say, hey, we are done and actually it was successful. That's the step you're doing
Ah,
right now, right? We had that one terminate to break if it fails. We probably should have more kind of error checking in the various steps. But also, what
mhm.
we do is at the end to say, yes, it was successful. We have completed that task.
Got it. Because I was just trying to find a screenshot like how it will look. So maybe it's like after we enter data,
Mhm.
like we don't have to join this
Correct.
thing up, and we have to connect it to this queue, and we have to also put like the item work item id is our global variable, so I'm going to
Mhm.
put teleportation, that's there. And we have the request content will be more of like application
That is empty.
request.
That's between the green boxes in your lab guide. So that just stays as is. You don't need to do anything to the request content.
Oh, okay, so I think I can do application, right? Because that's, I think we have to type that.
Now that's the next one.
And
That's the next field, I think. Isn't that the execution type?
I think execution type, let's see what's that. It's, I think, static, and we have applications.
That's it. Yeah. So
Oh, okay, cool. I think on top there is, I added an extra step, but I
yeah.
think it should be fine. And let's click on this end thing that's there.
The status is missing. The last one, the success. It currently still
Oh,
updates it with in progress. We are working on it. No, we're not. We're done.
got it. Yeah, it's success. Like let's click on
Yeah.
success. I think we have application release, all these things. Okay, now I think we have to test everything. So we'll clear log, and I'm gonna also close this application. We don't have the batch file opened up. I'm also gonna just minimize the lab guide and just make it big. Let's see the action. If I am
Yeah.
successful in doing the build with RPA thing, let's do it. Let's see. Okay, it's
There
working
was
fine.
your batch tool, and you see how fast it actually runs through all the things, right?
Yeah, it worked very well. I think like So I have successfully done the build with RP challenge, but I
Woo!
think fine. But
Congratulations.
I and I think there are some more steps that are left in the lab guide. I'm gonna quickly go into the lab guide and see maybe couple of step like how you can put this to your instance and all these things, right?
Publishing
So
it to the instance and running it completely unattended. Right now, we still run it from the development environment, from our studio, right? We're still simulating the execute, well, simulating. We're executing as part of a development cycle. It's not
got
yet
it.
executed as a background process. That's the rest in the lab guide, how to publish it and make it callable from ServiceNow.
Got it. So I think we have to click on the publish one,
Mhm.
and I clicked on the publish. Once I clicked on the publish, it's saying that I have to enter as a new version package to an existing one. So
Yeah.
that our package will be the Vista robot that's there. And we can just provide like some comment that exercise 3 is completed. I can just I just remove all these extra thing and I click on publish.
Mhm.
And once I click on publish, it's saying that project was published successfully. That's great.
Mhm.
And now like let me see, click on OK. Now it's like we have to go back to the instance.
Mhm.
So I will just minimize this thing up and I'm gonna open the instance side by side, which is already opened up. And you can see that it's asking us to go to the RPA hub again. I'll just go to the RP hub and
Mhm.
I'm gonna do something like, let's see, let's wait for it. So we have to go to the bot processes and the Vista bot configuration, and then we have to go into the details tab. So let it wait. All right, folks. So we have loaded up the RP hub. So like the next step is more of like opening the Vista thing. Like we click on the list, similar thing, and Vista bot configuration. It's in the build bot processes, Vista bot. I'm gonna unpin this thing so that you guys are able to see it properly. And I'm gonna make the lab guide bit small. Let's see if I can do that. Oh, okay, cool. So that's there. It's loading up, I think. So Daniel, like, what's this thing about? Like, what's
Yeah.
this step is about?
So that's kind of the benefit of having ServiceNow as the central management engine for RPA. What you have done is you uploaded that automation file into ServiceNow, right? It's now an attachment in a record, the record that you're actually selecting here, that
Hmm.
version. And whenever we need to execute that automation on a robot machine, we will ship that package to that machine and say, hey, you, please execute for me. So you do not need to worry about synchronizing robot engines across your environment, making sure they have all the same state of the automation stuff and things like that. We do that as part of RPA Hub. We ship the informations to the different machines when they need it. So, and they will download it, run it, and delete it again. So it's not that you have a big store of files and history and caches, whatever, on these virtual machines. They're really tiny execution engines for us.
Got it. And I think like the published version that we just did, it
Yeah.
just got published like 2 3 minutes back, and that's like 102. And I think I've did that. Let me just save it. And I think the last step is more about like adding the credential sets. So we can just click on new.
Yeah. The robot needs to know how to log into the Windows machine, right? Typically, Windows machines would log you out after inactivity of, I don't know, half an hour, 10 minutes, whatever your setup
Hmm.
is. So the robot needs to know how to log into the machine. And that's what we're telling
Hmm.
you. So we need to store the credentials. They're safely stored and encrypted and all these things, right? But we need to tell the robot how you can actually log in.
Got it. So I think you can see that it's I have to put the window username, and folks, I have this host name that I got it in the previous step.
Mhm.
So I'm just copy this thing and I'm gonna put it something like this. That's there. And the window
That's
password is some,
Yeah, and
sorry, Daniel.
that's specific to our machines, right? In your environment, it might be a domain name backslash something or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Host name is specific to the virtual machines, how we log in. You will probably need to talk to your IT infrastructure team saying what kind of user can the robot use? Is it a local user, domain user, whatever it is, but you need properly to create a technical user so the robot can log into that machine.
Got it. So I think like we created the credential set,
Mhm.
and now we are going into the details, and we're here we have to navigate to the process robot credentials. What's this process robot credentials, Daniel?
Yeah, that sound that looks a bit managing all the things twice or maybe even three times in the bot configuration, right? It
Yeah.
is, and why we do that is on a bot process. If you have really a high volume of transactions that you want to pass through, then you might need more than one robot executing it. And that's when we need to assign, okay, this robot has that credentials. The other robot uses this credentials. They might have different passwords to log into their machines and things like that. That's why we maintain it so complicated, let's say, but it opens the flexibility to scale if you need to. So if you have like hundreds of records coming in, hundreds of visitors coming in the morning and all need to go through that, you might want to have more than one robot executing the things.
Got it. I think yeah, that's there. So it's more of like we did a end-to-end process how you will design a robot and then you will publish it and all these things in this lab. So it's like a pretty much comprehensive lab. Every if a person who is very new to RP Hub, if they try this lab, they will get a lot of information. That's what I felt. So
Mhm.
yeah, and I think like we are done with the lab. So
Awesome.
finally let's me bring us back to the screens. So Daniel, like we are finally done with the lab. So firstly, thank you very much for creating this lab. It has so much details in it. Like it didn't felt like I was doing a proper lab because it was so comprehensive. It had so much detailing and everything. So thank you very much for it. And now question to you, how I did it? How
You did
was
awesome.
how
You did good. I saw you got a hang of it and you get faster as you went through.
Yes, exactly. Like that's the thing. Like when for people who are trying the RP for the first time, when you try it, you might be a bit slow, but as you progress, it will be faster. And I have done the RPA challenge. If now it's your time to do the RPA challenge, so you have the link to the build with RP challenge page and everything in the description. Click on it, request your instance, and start doing the build with RP challenge. And we'll be there to answer if there is any question. So thank you very much. Any final words, Daniel? Anything you want to plug in before we
Well, I
go?
hope you all enjoy doing the Build with RPA challenge, and I'm looking forward to see what you build outside the lab. What kind of ideas you have? What do you want to automate with that? Let us know. I'm very interested and excited to see that.
Perfect. I think, yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, Daniel, for your time. And see ya, guys. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.